Hey guys, we're going to take a break from the normal shittery to talk about, you guessed it, White Men Can't Jump. Why are we going to talk about it? Because there is a pretty great scene in the middle of the movie where they talk about two different avenues of how to interpret music. And there's a lot of great points that they make. There's a lot of great points that they do not make. But the discussion on the whole, I find, has relevance to a lot of the topics I cover on this channel. So I'm going to play the scene and talk about what's going on in it.
Hey, who is this?
Jimi Hendrix.
No, I know who it is. Why are you playing Jimmy?
Well, because I like to listen to him.
Oh, you like to listen. That's what the fucking problem is. Y'all listen.
Well, what am I supposed to do? Eat it?
No. You're supposed to hear it.
So let's break that down real quick. Woody puts on a Hendrix tape. Wesley Snipes does not like that he's doing that because he believes that as a white dude, Woody Harrelson cannot properly hear Jimi Hendrix. And he says that Woody can listen to Hendrix, but he can't hear it. So what is he saying there? He's saying that Hendrix operates on a different sonic wavelength that Woody Harrelson cannot audibly understand. And you can get the same kind of argument by having the kind of gatekeeper standpoints that you would see if you were to like pinpoint a poser. Like if you look at that meme that went around a long time ago of the really gaudy hipster wearing a Burzum shirt, that would get plastered whenever there was any kind of like Vice article on metal, because it usually came from that super hipstery standpoint, and it was therefore missing the point of what metal is. So that made the circulation back then. And the argument was that gaudy hipster could not hear Burzum. There's no way that gaudy hipster can hear Burzum because it's a different wavelength than what they can understand. So Woody's argument is that he likes to listen to it. That can be interpreted a couple of different ways. He either just enjoys what he's hearing, isn't trying to dissect it, or maybe the idea of listening can be more critical, but here it just seems that he enjoys it, that there isn't any kind of like trying to understand the character coming out through the music, trying to understand the player. He just likes it. And this is still not satisfactory enough for Wesley Snipes. So let's continue.
I just said I like to listen to it. Man.
No. There's a difference between hearing and listening. See, white people, y'all can't hear Jimmy. You listen.
What the fuck are you talking about? His drummer was white.
Get the fuck out of here. Jimi Hendrix's drummer was not white.
Yes, he did. Yo, check it out. See?
This is a picture.
Whole damn band is white except for Jimmy.
It's a fucking picture, man. This is airbrush bullshit. Jimi Hendrix did not have a white rhythm section.
So this whole argument would be similar to, they aren't fucking hardcore dudes. They aren't metalcore dudes. This guy was in X Band. He's actually a metal guy. And, you can kind of see through it. You understand who belongs to the type of genre and who doesn't. It's pretty funny because Wesley Snipes, despite being an apparent Hendrix fan, didn't know the makeup of the band. But let's continue.
You cannot hear Jimmy. All right, fine. All right. Thank you.
Check this out.
He said, I'll love you till I die.
Who is this?
Who's this? This is like the greatest troubadour of all time is who it is.
Troubadour? Shit sounds like a dog or something like that.
No, that's a Labrador, man. Don't insult this music.
Take your shit out, man.
You are listening to this. You're not hearing it.
I don't want to listen or I don't want to hear this. This is like pollution to my ears, man.
Gloria, will you explain to this Gladys Knight and the Pimps?
It's Pimps. It's Gladys Knight and the Pimps.
Right, look, why don't you just put Jimmy back in anyway? I don't like that shit, honey.
Shut up. You're supposed to be defending me.
Who are you yelling at?
Get rid of that gum. I'm tired.
All right, so we have the crux of the argument being presented. You get Woody Harrelson trying to listen to Hendrix, getting immediately shot down by someone that thinks they understand Hendrix because they come from the same background as Hendrix. So he puts on some, pretty embarrassing white boy music, and Wesley Snipes immediately has an adverse reaction because he doesn't belong to that, and he's not going to want to listen to or hear it. So let's talk about that listen to or hear. Which one has more substance to it. If you look at the initial argument, I think that Wesley Snipes is closer at understanding how to actually appreciate what you're hearing in music, because he's trying to cut through the experience of liking it, of it just being a passive type of experience, and hear the soul of the player. Whereas Woody Harrelson just wants to listen to it. He likes it. He likes how it makes him feel. And that kind of listen to it argument can also come down to appreciating the complexities of what you're hearing. So if you'll take on, a lot of people will take on the argument when discussing any of these like tech death bands, like, you just don't get it. You just don't understand how they're manipulating, the modes and the scales and whatever. And they're appreciating it on the level of the technical aspect of how it's put together, but they're not hearing Jimi. They're not actually trying to get the soul of the player across in the music. They're not hearing the message, because there is no message to be heard. And I think that is why Wesley Snipes' perspective rings a little more true onto how to actually appreciate music. But what is the problem with both perspectives here? The problem with you can't hear Jimi or you can't listen to Jimi is the you. When you bring you into it as the subject, you're creating a subjective argument. So this argument cannot be solved, because they can both enjoy the music however they want, but they're going to be at each other's throats because they think that they're correct, and they're arguing from a subjective standpoint. So, Snipes will be like, you can't hear this, so you shouldn't belong to this. And Woody will be like, it doesn't matter if I don't belong, I can appreciate it, and I like it. So all that I, all of that you, all of that is a problem. If you make the music the subject, and if you make yourself the object, take yourself out of the equation, you can get as close as you can to having a true musical experience. That experience of understanding the player aside from your own personal biases. So that's what I make these videos about. Maybe there's things about Artspire I like. Maybe there's things about whatever the fuck that I like or don't like. I'm trying to discuss what's there. I'm trying to talk about how the players are revealed to me in the medium that they've chosen. I'm trying to get down to the crux of the experience, of understanding what is going through my ears, going through my head, that aspect of communication from artist to audience. I'm not trying to talk about whether or not I like it, whether or not I belong to the same exact type of personality that created it. None of that matters to me. What matters to me is, can I understand the artist through their product? And that is not part of either of these experiences. Because as much as Wesley Snipes is saying that you can't hear Jimi because you aren't from the same subgroup or whatever, he's still coming at it from that egocentric perspective, where it's about him. It's not about trying to understand Jimi because of his music. It's about trying to understand Jimi because you belong to the same tribe as Jimi. And that happens in metal. That happens in every genre where people are passionate about shit. But it obscures the idea of the objective merit of the music you're discussing. And that's why I love this scene, because they're both butting heads about essentially the same argument, but it's still a dichotomy that is very entertaining to watch. So if you're going to come at me with an argument about what I'm saying, I don't care if you're hearing Jimi. I don't care if you're listening to Jimi. What I want to know is, are you experienced? So that being said, thank you for listening.